I was almost ready, then ready changed its name. Yeah, there's a line on the floor I didn't draw, but I learned how to stop right there. Counting all the ways I could ruin a day before the day had time to care. I kept my better words in a folded receipt, in a coat I barely wear. Kept turning a maybe into paperwork, kept asking the ceiling if I was allowed to be there. Not a collapse, not a clean new page, just the same old door with a different weight. I don't need the hallway open, I don't need the sign to stay. I just need the next small second to stop looking like a gate. Something in the room gives an inch, not enough to call it change, but enough to let the thought come through without wearing my name. I'm at the threshold, not across, not gone, but the edge looks less like a warning when I let it take this long. I'm at the threshold with no speech prepared, just a little room beside the worry where the next step starts to air. No grand turn, no bright line, just less weight on the same side. I used to wait for the right size proof, for the perfect minute with the cleaner mood, for the version of me that could enter a room without checking the exits before I move. But maybe the first part never arrives like that. Maybe it slips in plain with the bag half packed. Maybe the change has no announcement attached, just a smaller grip on what pulls me back. I left one excuse on the table, left one answer unopened, left one old version talking while I kept walking past it. Not fast, not brave, not healed, just almost less afraid. And the hallway doesn't ask for a name, and the door doesn't ask for a reason, and the hour doesn't turn into a trial just because I'm between things. I can be between things, I can be late to my own repair. I can have no clean sentence and still get near. I'm at the threshold where the hard part thins, where the thought that used to stop me doesn't always get back in. I'm at the threshold, not a promise, not a plan, just the first small place inside me that doesn't close its hand. If I don't cross today, I can stand near it anyway. Let the edge become a doorway, let the doorway lose its blame. That's enough, not because it's finished, because it isn't fighting me the same. That's enough, not because I'm better, because the next thing has a shape. I thought I had to arrive with every doubt swept out, with every old mark covered, with every bad hour filed down. But there's a softer kind of entry, one where doesn't make a scene, one where I keep the missing pieces and still let myself be seen. No one has to certify it, no one has to call it growth. Some doors begin as distance, some distance turns to close. The line stays there, but it isn't a wall. The thought comes back, but it isn't the law. I don't push the day open, I don't force the frame, I just stop making the doorway carry all my shame. I'm at the threshold with a little less to prove, with the old way leaning backward and a small way left to move. I'm at the threshold, not across but not the same, letting one unfinished moment turn its face away from blame. Oh, I'm at the threshold, and the room can stay unclear. I don't need the whole answer to let myself get near. Almost ready, then ready changed its name. I didn't cross it cleanly, I just stayed close enough for the door to seem less far than it was yesterday. I kept a whole reply in the back of my mouth, saved every reason like it had to count. Then the round moved on, and nothing came from me. Yeah, I made it. Yeah, I made a case out of a small mistake. Stacked it up neat like rent I had to pay. Wrote my name on the blame, put tape on the frame. Kept saying this is mine to a thing with no claim. Maybe the door was never locked that tight. Maybe the line wasn't drawn that high. I was guarding a corner nobody tried to take, turning one slow hour into another debate. I don't need a grand return, just a chair pulled out, just a page turned. Just one less reason to keep my guard arranged. One less version of me I have to explain. Some days come with too many names for a plain old dent in the day. I put them down one by one, and the floor doesn't ask me to prove anything. Less to defend, less to hold in place. I can let one thought leave without a trace. Less to defend, less to make correct. I can be this close and call it enough for now. For now, for now. Not fixed, just less loud. I used to carry the exit plan under every word, under every glance. Had a clean excuse, had a safer stance. Had a way to leave before the chance. But today got small in a useful way. No big sign, no clean parade. Just the kind of change that barely has a face. Like a sentence ending with a little more space. I don't have to win the room, I don't have to name the bruise. I don't have to turn the weather in my head into something anybody has to use. Yeah, there's a softer math under all of this. Minus one fear plus one half step. I don't call it brave, I just don't step back yet. That's the part I missed. The door can open without becoming a test. I kept myself on trial for arriving as I am. Kept changing the answer before anyone asked. Now the question bends, now the edge gives way. Now the day comes closer with a smaller name. Less to defend, less to turn to stone. I can leave some weight unclaimed, unknown. Less to defend, less to make it neat. I can move from here with one loose scene. Less to defend, not a victory line, just enough room for the next small sign. Keep the reason thin, keep the doorway plain. Keep the part that hurts from owning the whole day. I don't need a cleaner version, I don't need the perfect phrase. I can walk through half an answer and let the rest stay gray. There's a corner of the hour that isn't asking much. Just a little less armor, just a little less rush. Less to defend, when the old thought calls, I can let it ring behind another wall. Less to defend, when the doubt leans in, I can nod once and start again within. Less to defend, less to keep on file. I can be unfinished and remain worthwhile. I kept a whole reply, then let it lose its shade. Nothing fell apart, nothing had to stay. Less to defend, less to defend. The day gets in through the smallest place. It lets up before I know it changed. Not a clean escape, not a better name. Just the old weight, missing one small tooth. And the hard part, losing its perfect shape. It lets up like a bill I forgot, coming back with a smaller amount. Like a bad thought checks the address, then leaves without turning around. I had a list in the notes app, 3 lines and 17 more. Yeah, every little thing I didn't finish lined up like it on the floor. I kept opening the same screen, kept closing it halfway through. Kept making a problem out of the pause, like a pause had something to prove. Yeah. There's a cup by the sink, there's a jacket on the chair. There's an answer I don't have and it stays over there. That's new, not fixed, just not under my skin. Not every loose end has to pull me back in. I thought the day would ask for everything all at once in a sharper voice, but it only asked for one small thing, and even that gave me a choice. It lets up in the middle of a thought, when I start rehearsing what I lost. When the ceiling stays the ceiling and the unread names stay unread. It lets up by a little, not a lot, like a knot that forgets what No big return, no clean report, no glowing line under the word okay. Just one less alarm in the background, just one less reason to replay. Yeah, I used to make a courthouse out of every ordinary mess. Now the sentence gets shorter and the charge makes less sense. I don't have to solve the whole week from a corner of one bad hour. I can leave the thought unwettered and watch it lose its power. Funny how it changes when I don't chase it, when I let the meaning run out of there. The train sign flickers between two stops, like it hasn't picked a side. And I used to hate that kind of gap, now I let it be a place to ride. A coin in my pocket, a receipt with no reason, a half-formed message I don't need to deepen. Maybe today is not a test, maybe the proof was never due. Maybe the part I keep defending is already walking out of view. Not gone, not light, not washed in the gold, just less attached to the shape I was told. There's a smaller way to stay, there's a thinner way to ache. There's a part of me that doesn't need to turn every mark into a case. And I can feel the old weight try to come back dressed as truth, but it arrives with less command now, like it knows I'm less convinced to. It lets up when I leave it unnamed, when I stop giving the trouble a frame, when the thought walks in with its papers and I don't make room for the claim. It lets up, not enough to become right, not enough to rewrite my whole life, just enough for the next small minute to stop standing in my way. It lets up in a way I can't explain, like the same old page with a softer stain. I don't need to call it healing, I can let it be less today. Less of the grip, less of the trial, less of the need to make pain worthwhile. Less of the script, less of the stare, less of the old voice checking if I'm still there. I put one thing down, then I don't pick it up. Not because I'm above it, because it finally feels like enough. So I leave the cup, answer later. I change one setting, I close one layer. No speech for the mirror, no vow for the page, just a little less weather in the place I kept blame. It lets up before I know what changed. Not a clean escape, not a better name, just the old way, missing one small tooth in the hard part, losing its perfect shape. It lets up where I used to fold, where I used to turn small things into stone. And I stay with the day as it loosens, not fully better, just less alone with it. The list is still there, but it doesn't lean so close. I leave one line unfinished, and nothing reaches for my throat. I left a little white space at the bottom of the page, where the old me would have filled it with a reason and a cage. I used to write too close to the edge of every plan, like the world would take the margin if I didn't use my hand. There's a date crossed out lightly on a calendar I kept, not a failure, not a warning, just a shape I overread. Maybe not every delay needs a courtroom in my head. Maybe one slow answer can stay partly unsaid. I kept making rules out of how I froze, kept calling every pause the proof that I was closed. But the line moves back when I stop leaning in, and something almost opens without asking where I've been. Give me a little leeway where the hard thought used to stand, where I can miss the clean mark and still keep something in my hand. Give me a little leeway, not a rescue, not a crown, just a softer place to land when the old weight talks me down. I don't need the whole road wider, I don't need the sky to clear, just a little room inside the moment where I'm allowed to still be here. So you keep the window open, like the air had one more chance, not because you knew the answer, but because you stopped the closing hand. There's a kindness in the almost when it doesn't have to glow. There's a way to leave things pending without turning them to stone. You don't have to name the movement, you don't have to make it brave. Some days change by giving back the space you thought you gave away. I put the pen down sideways, let the ink dry uneven, kept one message in the draft without making it a reason. yeah. The old voice wanted clean lines, wanted sharp and final proof, wanted every little question to become a darker truth. But I can leave a corner open, I can let the tidal wait, I can hold a smaller standard without calling it escape. There's a thin kind of mercy in the part I don't correct, one less private punishment, one less perfect debt.
And the room doesn't fall apart when the plan stays incomplete, and the thought doesn't own the hour just because it found the seed.
I can come back slightly crooked, I can answer out of time, I can keep the missing pieces without making them the sign. Give me a little leeway where the heart thought used to stand, where I can miss the clean mark, still keep something in my hand. Give me a little leeway where the blame gets tired of sound, where a small unfinished feeling doesn't have to pull me down.
I don't need the whole road wide, I don't need the sky to clear,
just a little room inside the moment where I'm allowed to still be here.
If the next thing comes quietly, let it come without a name. Let it sit beside the trouble without dressing up the pain.
If the day stays partly tangled, let the knot stay partly loose. You can move without explaining what the motion has to prove. So I'll leave one line open, leave one answer late, leave one mark imperfect, leave one small mistake. Not because it means nothing, because it doesn't mean it all. Because the edge is not the ending, because the pause is not the wall. The margin doesn't save me, it just doesn't close in, and that might be enough room for the next breath to begin.
Give me a little leeway where the heart thought used to stand, where I can miss the clean mark and still keep something in my hand. Give me a little leeway, not a speech, not a sign, just the space to be unfinished without losing all my line. I don't need the whole road wide, I don't need the sky to clear,
just a little room inside the moment where I'm allowed to still be here.
Leave the margin,
leave the page,
leave the answer
half arranged.
I missed the line,
but
not the day.
A little leeway,
and I stay.
I turned the map around twice, then the arrow still found me. Yeah, I kept waiting for a cleaner sign, some perfect leader green light, but the screen kept spinning, and I kept calling that a reason to stay. Yeah, a bus went past with the wrong number, rain dry crooked on the curb. I had both hands full of almost, and nowhere soft to put the word. Maybe I don't need the answer sharp, maybe I don't need the day to agree. Maybe the part that keeps saying later is getting tired of talking over me. Not a big yes, not a fearless move, just a smaller what if, making a little room. The thought sits down and stands again, like it forgot why it came in. I'll watch it search for the old command and miss. Doubt gives not all the way, just enough for the next small thing to stop looking staged. Doubt gives like a grip gone thin, I don't have to win the moment to begin within it. Yeah, it bends into the side of the day, leaves one edge without a claim, and I step into the part that doesn't ask my name. I bought one plain thing, paid with coins from my coat, walked a long way back with the bag swinging low. Nothing cinematic, nothing turned gold, just the same block with less to decode. I didn't fix my head, I didn't fix the week, I just stopped treating every pause like it was proof against me. There's a line I used to follow even when it led nowhere, made a rule out of a worry, made a ceiling out of air. Now the rule comes back thin and wearing somebody else's coat, and I almost believe it, then I don't. The crosswalk changes before I decide, and somehow the timing doesn't feel like a crime. Doubt gives where I thought it would stay, where the old not yet starts losing its aim. Doubt gives not bright, not clear, just a little space beside the thought where I can still get near. It gives like static clearing off a face, like like the map finds north by mistake. I don't call it courage, I just don't turn away. There it is, the same old line. Let's convince him this time. There it is, trying to close the day with a softer hand. I left the message half written, but I didn't delete it. Let the cursor keep blinking without making the mean defeat. There's a shirt on the hanger with the tag still attached. A plan I never touched but somehow didn't throw back. Maybe unfinished isn't the same as gone. Maybe slow still counts when the old fear tags along. I can move with the question sitting next to me. I can keep the answer partial and still let the minute breathe. Give me the kind of change that doesn't need a witness. Give me the small return hidden in a plain decision. Give me one less loop, one less locked up phrase, one less reason to stay arranged. Not a rescue, not a clean new skin, just the part of doubt that finally lets me in. Doubt gives and the road stays real with this bent little signs in its unglamorous wheels. Doubt gives and I don't become new. I just find one usable second that I can pass through. Doubt gives where I used to fall, where a small no kept dressing up as control. It gives in the middle of almost. It gives where I used to wait, not enough to disappear, just enough to leave me here. I turned the map around twice, then the arrow still found me. I didn't know the way, I just stopped arguing with the first step, as hard as before. I didn't drop the whole thing, just stopped holding it the same. There's a lock about the station with a number I forgot. I kept thinking I had left something important in the slot, but the key stayed in my pocket and the day kept walking by. Not every missing feeling needs a search party tonight. I used to count the reasons like they turn into a map, folded every small delay into a heavier kind of fact. Then a train rolled past without me and nothing broken too. I let the platform empty without calling it proof. Unweight, not enough to float, just enough for the thing I carried to loosen from my coat. Unweight, not a clean release, just the first small space around it where it doesn't look like me. I bought a drink I didn't need from a machine that hummed too late. Watched the can fall sideways like it missed its own place. Yeah. There was dust on the window, there were shoes by the wall. There was a message I could answer without answering it all. Maybe I've been making contracts with every passing mood, signing tiny papers for a fear that never moved. Maybe I can leave one question with this jacket still on, let it stand near the doorway without dragging it along. It doesn't vanish, it doesn't turn kind, it just loses the right to decide. And I'm still here with the same loose ends, but one of them lets go of my hand. Unweight the thought before it becomes a sentence. Unweight the blame before it finds a shape. I don't need to turn this into brightness, I just need a little less to take. Unweight the part that keeps me over counting every pause and every almost step. I can leave the heavy thing beside me and move with what is left. Not free, not finished, not suddenly fine, just less owned by the pressure I kept calling mine. That was the trick, it sounded like truth because I carried it carefully. I had a plan for being better, then a plan for hiding that, then a plan for making failure look organized and flat. Too many labels on a plain cardboard box, too many names for a door that's unlocked. Too many reasons to keep looking back when the street doesn't care where I stop. So I take the smaller route with no meaning on display. Let the old thought follow, but a few steps out of range. I don't make it leave, I don't make it stay. I just stop giving all my room to something passing through my day. Unweight where the loop gets loud, where I used to build a wall from the smallest doubt. Unweight where the hour folds, I can keep one open edge without needing control. There's a shelf for what I can't solve, there's a place for what I don't know. There's a softer way to carry what refuses to be closed. I can be late to the answer, I can be half in repair, I can leave the name unfinished stays shut, the keys stay small. The train keeps leaving and I don't chase them all. The day doesn't open like a perfect page. It just stops pressing on the same old place. Unweight the thought before it becomes a sentence. Unweight the blame before it finds a shape. I don't need to turn this into brightness. I just need a little less to take. Unweight the part that keeps me over counting every pause and every almost step. I can leave the heavy thing beside me and move with what is left. If it comes back later, I can meet it less prepared, with one less explanation and a little more air. I didn't drop the whole thing, just stopped holding it the same. The key stayed in my pocket, but I walked past it anyway. The mark's still there, but it doesn't own the page. I can read around the corner where the ink forgot its rage. I used to press the same old sentence till it cut through every sheet. Now the letters lose their edges and the charge runs out of teeth. Some mistakes don't need a courtroom, some names don't need a chain. I can't hold the paper sideways and let the meaning change. Yeah, there's a receipt in the drawer with the total rubbed away. I kept checking it for numbers, like I knew what I should pay. Yeah, every small thing had a price tag, every late reply had weight. Every missed turn had a witness. Yeah, every pause became a case. I was good at making records out of whether I walked through. Kept the file on every, almost like the file was telling truth. But today the print looks weaker under this apartment bulb, and the old claims start slipping from the way I wrote it up. Yeah, I don't erase the whole thing, I just stopped tracing the stain. One less line under my name, one less reason to stay arranged. Yeah, blame thins when I stop making proof from every place I couldn't pass through. When the old report loses detail and the day lets me keep moving too. Blame thins where the pressure used to gather, where I made 1 hour carry 10. I don't need a cleaner version of me to step outside the sentence again. Blame fins and it's barely dramatic, just a paper held up to the air. But the words that used to close around me start arriving with less to wear. I washed the glass and left it drying with a water line halfway down. Watch the cloudy ring get lighter without trying to scrub it out. I did something small but useful, nothing holy, nothing new. Yeah, just a plain little fact that a mark can stay and still stop speaking for you. I kept saying that was me to a version under bad light. Kept making one rough minute standing for my whole life. Now I let the label peel from the corner of the box. It doesn't make me better, it just makes the story stop.
If the stain remains, let it remain smaller. If the page is bent, let it open still. There is room around a wrong turn, there is space beneath the bill. You were never only what you carried, never only what you missed. There are parts of you returning through the places you resist.
Let the old note lose its sharpness, let the folded edge lie flat. Some forgiveness starts as distance from the voice that called you back. I open one folder, then leave it unnamed. I find the old version, but it doesn't look the same. The chart is missing corners, the proof is hard to read. The blame keeps getting thinner than the hold it had on me. And I can walk with the paper still folded in my hand, without letting one bad paragraph decide where I stand.
Blame thins when I stop making proof from every place I couldn't pass through. When the old report loses detail and the day lets me keep moving too. Blame thins where the pressure used to gather, where I made 1 hour carry 10. I don't need a cleaner version of me to step outside the sentence again.
Yeah, blame thins like gold ink in a pocket, like a claim that forgot how to stay. And the part of me that kept confessing finds a little more room in the day.
You can read the page imperfect, you can let the numbers fade. You can keep what still needs mending without standing in its shade.
There's a mercy in the thinning when it never calls itself kind.
When the weight becomes a margin
and the next thing comes to mind. So I don't rewrite the evening, I don't polish the delay. I just let the old accusation lose another layer today. There's a cup by the window with the ring I didn't chase. There's a drawer full of paper and no longer runs the place. And if the dark comes back later with its folder and its pen, I can read it less completely
than I used to read it then.
Blame things when I stop making proof from every place I couldn't pass through. When the old report loses detail and the day lets me keep moving too. Blame things where the pressure used to gather where I made one, now I carry 10.
I don't need a cleaner version of me to step outside.
The sentence again.
Blame things,
not enough to disappear,
not enough to make a past behave,
just enough for the next small motion
to reach me through the page. The mark is still there, but it doesn't own the page.
Hold it to the air
and the words give way.
I left the room with the lights half on, like the day could finish itself. There was a sock in the hallway and a name I stopped trying to spell. Yeah, I kept the weekend in a plastic bag, tied too tight by the kitchen chair. Small things waiting with their mouths open, like I owed them a cleaner version of care. The machine downstairs kept turning, with nobody watching it spin. And I stood there counting quarters, like a new start had to begin. With a better face, with a clearer tone, with the kind of mind that comes back home. But the hum stayed plain and the floor stayed marked, and somehow the next thing didn't look so far. Something gets easier before I agree, before I call it progress, before it belongs to me. I thought they used to close the room 'cause back without the lock. And I don't move much, but I don't stop. Next becomes a corner I can turn without naming. Next becomes a line I can leave halfway through. Next becomes a thing that doesn't need to save me, just something small enough to do. Next becomes the chair I pull back slowly. Next becomes the message I don't overread. Not a new life waiting in the morning, just one more minute letting me proceed. 2 coins, 1 sleeve, a quiet machine, a thought losing steam. No speech, no sign, just less argument inside the same mind. I separated darks from colors like that counted as a plan. Watched the water take its time without asking who I am. There was lint on my thumb, there was tape on the wall. There was nothing inspirational about standing there at all. That helped in a strange way, no bright sentence trying to rename the day. I didn't have to turn my life around, I didn't have to make it clean. I just folded one old shirt and let that be the in-between. Maybe the next part isn't loud, maybe it doesn't lift its hand, maybe it shows up as a task that finally stops looking like a demand. I used to make the future too wide until it pushed me out of frame. Made tomorrow into weather, made one choice into a claim. Now it shrinks to something usable, a corner, a sleeve, a cup. Not enough to be a promise, but enough to loosen up. And the thought says, not ready, with a thinner voice now. And the room says nothing, which helps somehow. Next becomes a corner I can turn without naming. Next becomes a line I can leave halfway through. Next becomes a thing that doesn't need to save me, just something small enough to do. Next becomes the air between 2 errands. Next becomes a step I didn't plan. Not a grand return, not a signal, just a little room inside I can. Next becomes a part that stops before me. Next becomes a doubt that loses height. I don't need the whole day to forgive me, I just need this one piece to fit right. I can leave it small, I can leave it plain. I can keep the change without giving it a name. I can be unfinished with the basket at my side. I can miss the larger answer and still not step aside. There's no clean arrival in the stairwell light. Only keys in my pocket in the machine's last cycle. I used to wait for a feeling that would make the motion true, but maybe motion makes the feeling after it passes through. So I take what isn't heavy, I take what doesn't shout. I take the next small object and let the rest stay out. becomes a corner I can turn without naming. Next becomes a line I can leave halfway through. Next becomes a thing that doesn't need to save me, just something small enough to do. Next becomes a way I stop rehearsing. Next becomes a bag I carry less. Next becomes a quiet kind of almost where the day gives back a little space. Not fixed, not right, not turned into proof. Just the next thing becoming close enough to move. The lights are still half on, the room is still the room. I fold one more sleeve and let the rest wait, without making it mean what it used to mean.